Good evening, everybody. I wasn't expecting to do RimWorld tonight, but then I also wasn't expecting to be starting this late. So let me just take a quick second here to make sure that the stream is up and running. And then I don't know how long I'll be doing RimWorld, but hopefully we'll make a little bit more progress on the session that we began yesterday. And in fact, one of the reasons why I felt okay doing this is that a few people expressed some disappointment at missing the last one. So I do want to be as clear as I can off the top. Based on the previous stream, I'm not expecting too much to happen in the game. But on the other hand, I would like to try and make some progress relative to where I was last time around. So one of the reasons I'm not doing Cyberpunk right now is, you know, it's quite late. The people who might want to be watching that may or may not be awake. And RimWorld sort of offers me something that I can do at my own pace. And if it just comes to a point where we can, you know, have a chat while something happens in the background. Oh, that's interesting. So apparently there's a new version. Just give me 1 second here. Oh, wait. No, I have to enable betas or something like that. But yeah, so no major expectations for this one. This is really just an opportunity to have some, you know, something going on in the background. But as a quick recap, well, there's a few, I think there's a few details going on right now, but we've been working on sort of making our dorms. I've also wanted to try and move towards power. It is a little funny to me that we have power outages when we are at max. That's gotta change when we unpause. But yeah, so we were slowly building out sort of the dorms. We're now at a point where we're building some storage and factories. There'll be batteries that I put into this area here. This will be a workshop. I think this one's going to be for the blocks. And then I guess at some point I do need to make the hospital too. But I think the intention was that I would be slowly dismantling this part of the base, and then we would be, you know, we'd sort of be rebuilding or building up the parts that we needed. And then I think I have a pet that's going away. Anyways, there's a couple of things that I want to do. So one, the base building is something that I'd like to get done. I think actually I got to admit, there's not a whole lot of use that I'm getting out of this thing, so we might as well admit that it's a loss and take it down. But yeah, so I want to, where I can, I want to try and impose a little bit more order on the base. I'll try and keep a better eye on my resources. So at some point, we're probably going to want to start mining out that compacted machinery. But at this point here, I think let's get sort of the warehouse up and running first, and I'll slowly start building out a few crafting stations. And then once we're done with that, we can have a bit of a think in terms of what I want my next steps to be. All right. Psychic drone. Every female colonist feels a wave of anxiety and anger. Some distant engine of hatred is stirring. It is projecting a psychic drone onto this site through an orbital amplifier, tuned only to attract females. For a few days, some people's mood will be quite a bit worse. The drone level is low. I should also think about how I'm going to expand. So normally, I think the way people will normally build these things out is it'll be like a combination recreation and dining area. I also think the 2x4 table is a bad idea. I think what I'm going to do here, I don't need to get too clever about it, but let's do a... Okay, I don't have wood right now. But yeah, I'm thinking we'll replace the table. Also, new quests. Alu's Cache of Goodies. Alu, Prime Counselor of Kolor, has informed us a collection of valuable items worth $690 not far from us. The collection consists of a Steel Gladius Legendary, and there may be an unknown threat. Now, I'd probably normally go for that, except for the fact that it is a 2-star mission. Once this gets a roof, I'm going to put down the batteries. Clearly, it'd be nice to be generating the power as the energy's at the max, but well, you know what? It's not raining, so let's take a chance. Now, I don't recall if this automatically hooks in or if I actually need to run the power cable over. It's a little bit of a shame if it does, but I'll be able to get over it. I have a bit of wood now, so I will... So 2x2 doesn't completely solve all the problems, but it's a little less unsightly. Boomalope's still around. The funny thing is, I think, oh, that's interesting. Good for steel. Components are starting to get a little low, but we don't need to panic yet. What I'll start doing for the chairs, I think when we have sort of poor quality, I'll dismantle it. When we have, eventually we'll replace normal quality with good, and it'll be kind of the same with beds too. So we've got one poor one right now, but at the moment we're sort of looking for housing for everybody. So. Hello, Vanguard Master, and have I tried Norland? No, that was one you recommended to me, though, wasn't it? Okay, sorry, I must be thinking of the wrong one. Also, apparently you've picked like the 2 worst streams to catch me on. This is basically because I did want to make sure that I broadcast, but I wanted to have something that I could sort of chat over without putting too much thought. Oh, I have played this. That's the Hooded Horse one, right? Not only do I know it, I've played it. Yeah, I guess at least in this case, you're not seeing me with a visual novel, though. Yes, so I've played more of this than I've played Norland. It actually took me a lot to get into RimWorld, and I'm sort of into it now. I haven't played it through to the very end, but I kind of get it. And I actually quite like this game developer's book too. Not that that's, you know, that doesn't necessarily have any bearing on the quality of the game, but this is definitely, I'm sort of appreciating some of the qualities that this has to kind of rope me in. I shouldn't be drinking a coffee this large at this hour, but there you have it. One of the biggest problems that I run into, I've said this before to the stream, but for both of you, one of the biggest problems I run into is I queue up too much stuff early on, and so it tends to have the effect of just taking too long to get everything done. A 30, good God, man. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Outworld is a huge fan of Warhammer, so like he's obsessed with the Total War series. Yeah, actually, so this is one of the funny things. I know a lot of you know that I have a weird background with the Total War series, because they're ones that I wanted to like for such a long time, but I struggled to get into because it was very hard for me to compare, like to feel that was anything other than just sort of smashing army men together, which is very obviously not what those games are. They're very well done strategy games, but they're not necessarily ones that I could kind of get a grip on. And then it was Rome 2 that finally did it for me, which is also kind of funny because, of course, Rome 2 wasn't necessarily very well reviewed, but that was the one. There was sort of this setup that I had. It was a clearly superior enemy force, but I was able to sort of maneuver my army in such a way that I had a couple of rows of spearmen at 2 really important choke points. And of course, because the opponent was an attacker, they had no choice but to sort of give the fight. And I was essentially able to use the terrain and sort of play the rock, paper, scissors game against their troops to be able to pull off what felt like a 1 in a million victory. In reality, I'm sure it was actually a very standard kind of Total War win. But especially too, getting to sort of look over the battlefield and just seeing all of the spots where, you know, the big moments happened, and sort of see the strategy that I had planned at the start of the engagement play out in terms of just seeing how the number of sort of barbarian bodies were on the ground relative to my own troops. Ooh, we should be putting ambrosia in. Sorry, just a second here. But yeah, so that sort of sold me on it. The other one was, Troy, which I realize is it's not really the beloved entry in the series, but I actually feel it is an excellent entry in the series that's a little bit more deserving of respect. But yeah, from there, so I can appreciate the Warhammer ones. It's, you know, it's a series that I obviously have I'll have my favorites, but it's one that I'm certainly appreciating more, having put some time into it. But one of the things I actually really appreciate the most about the Total War series, this is going to seem like a weird one, but it's actually connecting with something that I loved about Civilization, which is, and I don't want to outworld as like a total nerd, but one of the things I really appreciated about the Civilization series was it was sometimes my first exposure to certain certain ideas. So the example I like to kind of take for Civilization is its Civilopedia, which I actually feel hasn't necessarily gotten better with the different iterations. I think sometimes it's a little too jokey and sometimes a little too shallow. But to my view, there's only so many times that you can learn about something like a hoplite until see a hoplite, and you'll be looking for, okay, what are its stats? I want to do well inside the game. But at some point you are going to get interested in like what they were in history. And basically the Civilopedia just sort of sits there, it plants the mine so that one day, your curiosity is going to cause you to step on that mine. And I suppose in this analogy, you get your intellectual leg blown off. I didn't really think that through. But the reason I mentioned that is that, Outworld, if you talk with, you can see him on stream, you'll know him as like a very good Mortal Kombat streamer. You'll see him as somebody who does very good at different retro games. He's somebody with a love of Total War. But one of the things that really, I don't even want to say impressed me, but was kind of a delightful surprise, was that we sort of had a nice conversation about the Book of Kells. And this kind of came out of the fact he's one of these people who brands his skin with pagan markings. You go on holiday and just leave it on or something. But yeah, this is one of the things that I like, right? Because it's it's something that, much like the Civilization series, the medieval games will give you some fun strategy to play, right? That's a perfectly satisfying game on its own. But they do take the time to do the research in every single one of those games. And that was fuel enough for us to be able to have a conversation of, hey, where'd this image come from? Well, it sort of looks like this thing from a famous book. Actually, oddly enough, Outworld, I was at a used bookstore this weekend, and there was actually a reproduction of the Book of Kells on the shelves. It wasn't quite interesting enough for me to pick it up, but it was sort of neat to just sort of, pick it up, like hold it and sort of look through it and stuff like that. But anyways, all of that to say is that I'm always a little surprised, usually in a positive way, in terms of what specific games provoke that kind of feeling. I wouldn't have normally associated that with the Total War games, because in the end, it wasn't necessarily a series I'd fully appreciated, but I should have bought it on my way to the gym. Who is this James person you keep talking about? But yeah, I will confess, I want to like some of the older ones more than I do. I think Rome 2 is probably the oldest one that I've really gotten into, and that's just because I'm spoiled by modern interfaces. But it's one of the ones where it actually took me a lot of effort, and I think probably Rome was the right one for me because, as a man, I am obligated to think about the Roman Empire a certain number of times, a week. But yeah, I think that interest in the historical subject matter was enough to drive me to, to push ahead, learn the basics, and then of course now I can play the ones with the dragons alongside the ones with the the historical periods I'm interested in. And I kind of feel like if I were to do a Total War game, if I was like to play a Total War game that's set in or like if they were, sorry, if they were to do one of the like Empire Total War or Napoleon Total War games with the modern UIs, I'd probably, I would actually probably really get into that. But yeah, well, given your former professor, Vanguard, I kind of feel like all of that time should be spent in Command Modern Operations. Or I guess at that time it would have been Command Modern Air Naval Operations. Anyway, at World, I'm sorry. I will try and take a look into that. That one, like when we talked about the Book of Kells, I had kind of like a ballpark of what I would check, and I'll confess that image that you sent me, I'm really like, I'm really drawing a blank, but I'm not willing to give up. It's more just where the previous one, I was sort of like, I might be able to make this work. This next one, I'm sort of like, I don't know about this one, but we'll give it a shot. War of the Roses would be a really interesting one, actually, especially too because, you know, the more I think of it, the War of the Roses would potentially allow them to do something interesting with their like hero system. So like right now the hero system is kind of like Warhammer. You have these people who are just like super soldiers basically. And then you can kind of do the Troy version when they do like the realism where it's, you know, a commander surrounded by a bodyguard. But Diluted Daybreak, congratulations. I hope you knock it out of the park. Excellent. I realized, see, I was lucky enough to get a job in my field, but I realized that a lot of people can't take that for granted. So excellent work. I'll be delighted to hear that you've got the job. So I will, my guess looking at it would be that like this is the challenge with Total War. Like clearly some of the images that they'll use on the maps are ones that are actually derived from historical objects. But I imagine for some of the things like the wallpapers and the art in the background, I would not be surprised if it's exactly what you're saying there, which is that it's something very much in the style of, but you couldn't point to a specific like a specific carving that that was driving it. But we'll give it the old college try. If nothing else, it just gives me a chance to like look up some stuff that I don't normally. Oh my god. The Husky's getting high. Yeah, you know, we'll teach it to attack too. Slowly making progress. So eventually I want to try taming some of these muffalo. Actually, you know what? We can... It's the youngest male and the youngest female. Yeah, I mean, to me, the pursuit's kind of half the fun, but I know, like, for you, I'm assuming that's probably something you're looking to stain on your body in short order. So if I come up short, I would be interested in hearing what the official people have to say. The one thing I have enjoyed, like, I realize that we're coming to this topic from sort of different angles, but the it's kind of funny that you really leapt into this around the time that you did, because just for purely literary reasons, I've been going over my old English texts. And so that will specifically mean stuff like Beowulf and like the Wife's Lament and all this Anglo-Saxon stuff. And actually, for me, the real joys are in the more kind of the Anglo-Norman, or actually, honestly, probably more Middle English for me. So like Sir Gawain and the Green Knight is a big one for me that I really enjoy. I'm going to need a bigger pen real quick. I think some of this will be good for farming, though, so I don't want to get too aggressive with that. Ugh, I'm pretty much at the limit there already. All right, we'll do something like this. But yeah, just obviously they're different forms of expression, but they're still ones that are very relevant to that specific culture. And again, it's the sort of stuff where if you just kind of volunteer to people, oh, hey, I was reading Beowulf, you're usually going to get like a sophisticated eye roll from someone. But clearly they're very compelling images, and they're very like, it's like anything, it's a culture that has a certain power and fascination even today, and it's dumb to pretend that it's not interesting. So sometimes you're really just looking for the excuse to just sort of talk about this kind of stuff. So again, like it's one of the things that to me it was Civilization that was the real one that drove it for me. But it's largely been something for me that I think cuts across all gaming. In fact, like, so for me, I do sort of have the feeling that Assassin's Creed is that for a lot of gamers, that, it's possible that some people may have only, like, the first time that they'd ever heard of like Machiavelli might have been the Ezio Assassin's Creed games. I think it's more, those games are a little more interesting when you know who Machiavelli is and why he's a significant character. But I'm not going to tell people, oh, you're not allowed to enjoy Assassin's Creed because you didn't like Machiavelli at the right time. I think I maybe overdid it on the cutting the plants, but I'll live with it. Also, I'm going to settle for cutting down the compacted machinery now. All right, I think I'm ready to speed it up for a bit. I'll probably sort out the warehouse in a little bit here, but... All right, have a good one, Vanguard. We're also probably generating enough chem fuel off of the Boomalope that I could probably make a chemical generator. In fact, there's probably an argument for taming a female Boomalope. for the same reason that we'd ideally we'll keep this steady supply of fuel. Looks like there aren't any ladies though. Alright, a group of tribespeople from the Purple Lake Pact have arrived nearby. They are attacking immediately. Jackalope is not armed. Oh, because they are incapable of violence. Alright, looks like we need to start putting down a graveyard. Well, I mean, we could technically just leave Goba for the wild animals, but let's not do that. I'm not familiar with. I'm actually not familiar with the broadcaster that you mentioned, Diluted Daybreak. I'm one of those fake gamers that just does it for the money and the women. The funny thing is that I don't know how long I can say I've been into RimWorld, but it's not. It's one of these things that's tricky, right? Where if you play something for the first time on a stream, it gives the impression that maybe it's the first time you've ever played a game. Now, I don't exactly play RimWorld at some kind of high skill level, so I certainly can see where people might might get the impression it's my very first time. But it's something I'm familiar with and just haven't really done on stream before. But yeah, for the most part, I think it's one of the things for me about these kinds of games are that I do enjoy the process of trying to figure them out for myself. And that can often mean, frustration. It can mean not playing the way that people think is correct. And, I know my opinion on games are that usually the journey is the fun part rather than meeting any kind of community standard of correct play. So for that reason, excuse me, I tend to avoid broadcasts because there's there can be people who are very good broadcasters, but the challenge is that it's very hard to tell off the top what broadcasts are going to be focused on trying to tell me the correct way to play the game and which ones are, kind of like what I'm doing, which is the game just winds up being a bit of a piece of furniture for, for whatever conversation topic we're discussing. And again, that's no knock on the people who are broadcasting. It does sometimes make it a little tricky for me to sort out what is, what's going to be consistent with my continued enjoyment of certain games. So we're obviously out of granite, but I might as well put the tiles down, and I think we're good to fast forward again. But it is actually one of the reasons why I've focused on playing just this core game to begin with. I think it's kind of nice. Ooh. Will no one treat this man? It's just bleeding out, alright. That is a choice. And I apparently cannot prioritize healing? There we go. Although they're using the good medicine. And another ambrosia sprout. Oh, that's a boom rat, never mind. So yeah, funny you mentioned oxygen not included. That's another one that I got on Epic, but ultimately I haven't. So I do struggle with these kinds of games because I need just enough constraints to make the game interesting, but not so many that I give up. So in this case here, there's this nice. It's the reason why I'm playing on Phoebe Chillax. It gives me a reason to build defenses for the base, but it isn't so demanding that I sort of feel like I don't have any hope. So in terms of revealed preferences, I've actually spent more time in RimWorld than I have, oxygen not included. I should do oxygen not included again at some point, but okay, chem fuel seems to last forever. Okay, we'll link these guys. So that'll be preferred storage. But what I want to do here is I want to kill food and meals. I think this will have to do. And then what I can do here is I can make this stockpile zone the low priority one. So we'll store it if we have to, but it's not the highest priority. So yeah, the wood situation's a little ridiculous now, but I think we're probably at the end of the great chopping. Probably wouldn't hurt to put some light in this room. And yeah, so this is encouraging here. At some point, I'm probably going to kill the wood-fired generator. But I'm not quite there yet. Yeah, for sure, Diluted Daybreak. I mean, the weirdest thing, while I wouldn't count myself as a particularly good role play or anything like that, the analogy I like to draw is for public speaking. I'll even use public speaking in a very general sense. So this, in my view, could also refer to, this could just as easily refer to like, you know, doing a presentation in the office. Apparently is not getting rained on. But, you know, it's one of these ones where if you're doing a good presentation, chances are it's not going to, like, you're not going to run into a situation where you're quoting a script. What's probably more likely is the presentation that you give will be, you know, something that you're knowledgeable about, something that you feel comfortable speaking to. But what it's going to do is it's going to be a set of facts that you want to convey, and then either based on the audience reactions or based on, you know, a number of sort of hard to define but clearly present factors, you know, you're going to put a little bit more emphasis on, you know, topic A versus topic B. Hey, Narkexy, thank you very much for the subscription. Resubscription. I hope you are doing well. Sorry, just taking a minute here to work out placement of various gates. Yeah, and honestly, I think one of the principal benefits of it is, and this is hard to explain to people who haven't done it before, but one of the principal benefits, in my view, has very little to do with whether or not you use any of the material you've prepared. And some of it, I think, is really just a question of, like, knowing that you know the material. And the fact that you're in that place, the fact that you're able to say, you know, I know this inside and out, nobody can beat me on this. I actually feel that more than anything winds up being the contributor to the really good presentations that I've given. That's great to hear, Narkexy. I should just let you know, I do actually own all of the DLC, but I'm just playing from core because I've never actually finished a game of RimWorld. I've sort of nibbled at it at best. So this is really just something that I can use as an excuse to sort of, you know, babble away while doing something fairly light in the background. But part of this too is an intention to actually, like, finish a run, and the aim, in my view, has sort of been to start folding in the different DLC as, you know, as time goes by. I'm slightly tempted to take out the wood fire generator at this point. If I were to do that, just out of pure curiosity. periodically refuel by hand. Doesn't talk about inputs. I know I can look that up in the wiki, but I'm not sufficiently interested. So are you specifically like looking up some history, and you want to give some like a reasonably accurate setting for your sorry, for your Vampire the Masquerade setup, Deluded? Sorry, I've tried to keep one eye on the developments in the colony. It looks like I forgot to put down lights. I'm thinking I might put a dumping ground in the back here. Actually, I think I can. Cargo pods. You've detected a cluster of cargo pods crashing nearby. Perhaps you'll find something useful in the wreckage. Potatoes. Okay, so I think we have enough of a charge with the batteries here. I can afford to take out the wood-fired generator. I think we're just going to make this for stone blocks. kind of interesting, the stockpile zone basically vanished now that I've got a warehouse here. So I'm wondering if maybe I strike while the iron's hot. An eclipse. One of the moons of this planet has orbited in front of the sun. An eclipse has begun. Carmelo by Juan Escamilla. I feel like, I'm sorry to disappoint. The names are not immediately leaping out at me as ones I should be familiar with. Sorry, Diluted. Oh. Chunks of spacecraft is impacted nearby. You can deconstruct them to yield resources. Right, I forgot to assign. So I'll say these. These need to be... I also messed up, so these shouldn't be blocks. These should be chunks. Okay. Okay, yeah, sorry, Diluted. I don't think I would have picked up on those without the hint. All right, that's what I was looking for. Turns out, though, that these can't be... Yeah, so it has to be the dumping zone for the chunks, which is a little disappointing, but it's not that far to take them out here, so... it also means that I can start cleaning up the immediate area, which is nice. Party! Butler is throwing a party. Everyone who goes will gain recreation and social energy and a lasting positive mood boost. So obviously there's a lot of dirt on the ground, which is not so good. got the new pen, so... So obviously I'm kind of hoping that these get built before the animals run off, but it's mostly just to try and protect the nutrition. All right, we have a good wooden dining chair. So I think we're well on our way to making another little factory. Oh, we've got a mad muffalo. A local muffalo has gone mad. It will attack anyone it sees. So it looks like it's coming right for us. I think it's probably better that we give this thing some distance. And a transport pod crash. Civil servant named Drang is crashing in a transport pod nearby. If she survives the impact, she will be badly wounded. Drang is from your enemy, the Andayoyum Coalition. You can capture her for recruitment or slavery purposes. Sorry, Limity, you gotta get out of here. Did slightly concern me that it looked like Sonia was prioritizing construction. Okay, so they're actually not a bad scientist, so we'll do recruit. So, I mean, health-wise, they'll probably be fine. Oh, I don't know if I want to kill the roof here. You know what? Let's change that. Might be too late, but I figure we can have chunks in the open air. Plague. 2 of your colonists have gotten sick from the plague. Ensure that you have a medical bed and a doctor. Make sure that they get proper treatment and spend as much time in bed as possible. So Sonia and Butler. So Butler is my secondary doctor and Jackalope. Okay, so... let's make sure Jackalope... So this is actually a fairly important one here. So whole body plague minor. So we've got immunity on the rise and plague. So an infectious disease caused by bacteria increases pain, reduces consciousness, reduces manipulation. So the way that this works, as far as I can tell, is that the disease will progress over time. And then your immunity will progress over time. And essentially, if you beat the disease, you get immunity and you survive. And if the plague gets to 100% before then, you lose your colonist. So this is why I pretty much rushed these two to bed as soon as possible and got Jackalope to do the tending. Plague is obviously no joke. And right now with Butler, they've now overtaken the plague, or at the very least, they're roughly equal. Whereas Sonia has a bit of catching up to do. But because of the tending, we expect the disease to progress slower and the immunity to advance faster. And I'll occasionally check in to make sure that they're properly tended to. At a point now, I think I'm willing to put up. So one drawback with these wind turbines is that I believe they reduce the beauty. So one of the things that I can do here is put them behind a wall. And then it's not as unsightly. Oh, break up. Collins told Sonia that it would be best to see other people. Collins and Sonia are no longer in a relationship. The final straw was rejecting her proposal. Yes, it was Wednesday. Right, and Collins seems to be at a loss. I don't think that's actually true. I don't know, 2 will have to do for now. Don't want to lose the berry bush if I can avoid it. And then the other trick here is that as a backup, It's probably overdoing it, but... All right, have a good one, Deleted Daybreak. Thanks for stopping by. So eventually I'm going to need to set some population controls for the Muffalo, but... I can live with this. All right, so I'm reasonably happy with this just ticking along as it currently is. I'm sure there's a disaster waiting to happen with all the chem fuel in one spot, but I feel, you know, encasing it in granite and then having sort of some redundancy as far as the batteries are concerned is, you know, that's about as close as I'm going to get to you know, to safety. The idea here is that this is a backup for the existing power systems. And then when I have a proper hospital set up, I will when I have a proper hospital set up, I'll start moving the drugs into the room where I keep the medicine. In fact, we can get rid of these. Food binge. Sonia. Sonia is pigging out on food. This happened because of a poor mood, and the result was due to serious pain. You know what? I don't blame her. Pig out on food. Have a good read. This is basically my weekend. I'm thinking one thing I might do is somehow turn this into a bigger rec room rather than this little shabby dining room over here. I'm not 100% sure what possessed me to make such a small room here. I mean, it's nice and accessible to the kitchen and dining room. In fact, one thing I can do to improve it is add another door so people can more easily access the food. Supplies for Rogue's Oasis. A nearby settlement, Rogue's Oasis has a special trade request. They would like to purchase 13 pants of normal or higher quality. If you want to make the trade, send a caravan with the requested items in 2.2 days. So I'd have to do this within... essentially, I'd have 2 days to make the pants. And we can either do it for... Hoffelma will join in response to our excellent pants. We can get an orbital beam targeter with uranium, or we can get goodwill. And as tempted as I am to do that, I just don't think I have the wherewithal to make that many pants in that short period of time. But once this is built, I think we'll make our next workshop, which will be the tailor. Fully healed and then food poisoned. I was going to say I was a little surprised at the lost power, but it occurred to me that we don't have the power conduit here yet, so... I think what I might do is I might maybe make the prison over here, because I'm just trying to think what else would I want to put in this area. Solar flare. A solar flare has begun. The intense radiation will shut down all electrical devices. It should pass in about a day. Yeah, I'm slowly convincing myself of this, so... A caravan from Kolor is approaching. They are a combat supplier. They'll hang around in the colony for some time before leaving. You can attack them, but this will anger their faction. So what we'll do here, Jackalope I believe is my better social character. So we'll set up a trade. And in this case here, what we're really doing is selling some of the surplus. So if I can buy something extra, that's nice. But the idea here is really to just try and get rid of things like the ambrosia, any of the extra weapons, the psychite tea, all that sort of stuff. If I can just get that out of the stockpile, so much the better. Okay, sell the drugs, sell the bow, and then the question here, so they don't have enough money, so I will pick up an auto pistol. Still don't have enough, so we'll also pick up the revolver. I'll still come out ahead on that. Seeing Collins idle makes me sad. What this is suggesting to me, if Collins is idle, I should probably be thinking about reassigning people to certain tasks. I believe in you, Power. You can do it. More cargo pods. You've detected a cluster of cargo pods crashing nearby. Perhaps you'll find something useful in the wreckage. Gold is indeed useful. Now, there were some potatoes that crash landed at some point, but I don't think they ever got picked up. Oh no, they're still there. Okay, well, Collins, you know what? I'm tired of your lazy ways. No, that's why. We're almost there. Does look like no, we're still okay for steel too. Although I might start... Actually, before I go too crazy with this, let's deconstruct some of the ship parts. Beautiful aurora is lighting up the sky. The undulating colors will boost the mood of anyone outside to see them and make the night brighter. If you can just give me a quick second here, I forgot to bring my water over to my desk. So there's a side of me that just kind of wants to extend this out and turn this into the hospital. There's actually technically nothing to stop me from doing that right now. In fact, I think, yeah. So I'm gonna change it up a little bit in terms of how I'm building it, but so one thing I'm not so sure about, I'm not crazy about this fact that I'm making a small maze for people to go through, but I also don't like the idea of people dragging in dirt into the hospital. So I'm kind of figuring the entrance. Well, I guess yeah, I don't know. This might just be foolishness, but I'm gonna try it on for size, and if it doesn't work, we'll have learned something. right. I think we're at the point I need to get some more components as well, so we'll mine these out, and we might as well get some extra steel. I guess I was originally going to do that through these, but... Alright, so... Oop, area revealed. New area has been revealed. Doesn't look too catastrophic. Okay, so this is for prisoner. Well, this is normal, so I'm going to... So these are these are fine to have as is. Okay, so I'm thinking... So I'll reinstall the lamp. Somewhere in the middle. This doesn't work too bad because now I can... So what I want to try and do here is make a little freezer for the medicine. Trying to think where we want to put the dog. Okay. Excuse me. don't need that much redundancy, but I figure I'm kind of already there for some of these. Okay, medical. I'm going to need to work out the temperature control a little bit later, but obviously that's not a high priority right now. Oh yeah, I should probably light the room. All right, so those are linked. All medicine, ambrosia, critical. Until we get the freezer in place, let's not. And then the next phase, where we have 5 people in the colony, but only 4 main beds right now. And I don't have a couple anymore, so at some point, oh, Sonia, probably underground too much. No, they're still mad about the breakup. But yeah, I'm definitely going to need a couple more houses reasonably soon. So one of my easier paths to houses is to actually clear out the workshop. So let's see if I can make that happen. The same more or less the same structure as the last one. I think what I will do here, though, I'm actually going to make this for the art bench, even though it's not the most important thing I can be building right now. It does have the merit of being something that benefits from easy access to this area. And while I don't like the idea of forcing myself into too many things at once, I don't think it'll hurt to put down the Taylor bench as well. Visitors, a group from Kolar are visiting the colony. They seem to have a few items to trade. Now, I may not have anything to trade with them. But I'll leave it be for now. I need to have a think about how I structure these rooms. Trying to think about the things that... Oh, hang on, this isn't the right... Okay, so marble, gold, jade, silver, maybe not steel yet. But yeah, what I want to try and do is fill this place with the materials that I might build something out of, or the intermediate goods. Oh, sorry to hear that, Vanguard. I think I'm overdoing it on the power here, but... I'm now committed. Now, the one challenge I'm going to run into is a research room, because normally those get a little dramatic in this game, if I recall correctly. Also, why doesn't this have a roof? Apparently it does. I also haven't lit any of this, which, shame on me. Okay, so we got a couple of good things going on here. So we're getting some buffalo wool, which actually makes me think that maybe... Okay, nope, that's good. I'm wondering if we're at a point now where I just need a dedicated cleaner. New lovers, Collins wooed Jackalope by jokingly poking at her kindness. Jackalope was attracted and now is Collins' lover. Collins and Jackalope will now want to sleep together. Consider assigning them to a double bed. Well, I guess that deals with the bed situation. And we can also get rid of the medicine now. Exotic goods from Kolor. Alright, so I'll get Jackalope to interact with them. This is a little bit more about making money. Oop, and new recruit Drang. Jackalope asked Drang to join. Drang has accepted and joined Jackalope's community. Alright, so usual suspects as far as... There's a side of me that says for the research, maybe we just go for one of these standard buildings just so I can kind of clear out this last little area and get back to building new homes. But honestly, at this point, I've got so much stuff to just do. Oh, mad rat. Local rat has gone mad. It will attack everyone it sees. Let's get Jackalope to trade. Get ready for the showdown with the rat. Okay. I don't want to sell any of this. So we won't. Thinking we could probably get away without too much of a scar as long as we let the okay, works for me. Now, if I take a look at the animals, I believe... No, it's wildlife. Yeah, so it's all male boomalopes. This one is slightly more attractive just because it's easier. But I'm still kind of at the point where I want to put all the effort into building the... Why is there steel here? Right, that's why. So yeah, I'm going to let the construction finish first, and then we'll actually... Yeah, so again, I'll let the I'll kind of let the whole construction boom take care of itself first, and then I'll build the research room. We'll dismantle the actually one thing I'll do here. Get the granite walls up. This will kind of wreak havoc on the cooler, but the other thing I didn't do was I didn't put down a 6th field of corn, but I think we're at a net. We're definitely generating more than I really need right now. We should, however, with 6 people, go up to 18 simple meals. Gobbing fruit. Yeah, I think we're kind of we're currently at a surplus for the food, so I think I'm just going to leave that aside. Well, that's silly. I actually think I should be able to get another house built like this, so... Which is funny because I actually also just pulled up the power, but... Now it's probably better for me to just... so hidden conduit here, and then maybe we just let this be the connection. Like so. Again, a lot of this kind of depends on how I'm going to treat the hospital. I also don't see this necessarily as a final hospital. Should probably have another ambrosia that I can harvest at some point. Maybe it'll be easier if I do this. Oh, did it just go away? Yeah, so we're clearly too far behind on the granite blocks, but at this point I think I'm just going to let nature take its course. So it's not like we really need the parkas in this climate, but I'm trying to build the good habits. So I have a hell of a lot of ambrosia. Actually, quite a bit of fuel for that matter too. Big surprises there. We unfortunately just, this is the penalty of not building the walls fast enough. Now that's good to see that we've got a couple people working on cleaning now. I think probably the priority list might be a little out of whack given who's doing the research and such, but it looks like we're slowly getting back to a state where the people in the base are doing something useful. The other thing I should be doing, so Drang isn't much of a fighter. Alright, well, better than nothing. prefer to equip my people with more ranged weapons than anything else. And of course, obviously, the sooner we can get a roof over the electric Taylor bench, happier I'll be. Visitors, a group from the Tasley Alliance are visiting the colony. They seem to have a few items to trade. So we'll get Jackalope ready to chat. I'm not expecting miracles, but... I'm also a little curious about this 167 number, so it'll be interesting to see if over time it goes up, because that basically means I've got a backup generator whenever I need it, while still generating a surplus, at least until the Boomalope dies. Okay. Figure I can sell the poor quality stuff. So I'll confess, my ideal, of course, would be there's somebody just constantly pounding away at the workshop. Ooh, gave us a bunch of money. So Butler could be doing, I could be doing research, but I guess Drang's already taken care of that. So yeah, actually, I think a large part of the idleness will be coming from a lack of material. Fauna Fur Wells, Prime Counselor of the Andoyum Coalition, has sent us a message. She wants to talk to us at a nearby location. It would be a great opportunity to improve relations with their faction and receive gifts, but beware, a poor neighbor can cause more harm than good and may even anger them. All right. This is going to be a little risky, but we'll send a caravan. And this one, we're only going to send Jackalope. It's also occurred to me that maybe I want to make some more pemmican. Or any pemmican, for that matter. Okay, solar panels down, which is good. As much as I'd love to do a geothermal generator, I think the time has come for me to do some more basics. So, smithing seems like a good idea. At some point, I think I'm going to try and mine out the jade here. But at this point, a lot of this is more about okay, we are also generating positive fuel. Right now, a lot of this is more about what I can do in the very short term. So basically, until I've got a roof over everyone's head and sort of a dedicated room for each of my tasks, I don't want to be going out of my way to make... Oh, you know what? I might want to change up the rooms here. So maybe I make the tailor in this area, and then this can be the research room. I don't want to start killing off some of the muffalo until we're at a point where I can't sustain the population anymore. Well, hello, turkey. Peace talks triumph. The talks were a great triumph. Delegates connected quickly on a personal level and came to see each other's perspectives on the most difficult issues of the day. Relations with the Endoyum Coalition have improved by 100. As your caravan departed, Endoyum Coalition offered you a gift. Painstopper. Jackalope, your negotiator, has gained 6,000 social experience. Relations with the Endoyum Coalition have warmed. They now consider you neutral and will no longer attack you. This happened because goodwill plus 20 has risen past 0. If goodwill falls below negative 75, Endoyum Coalition will become hostile again. If goodwill rises above 75, they will become your ally and fight for you. All right. Mad Gang are attacking immediately, so we've got all melee. This might get a little weird. Oh, shame on you. Their willingness to hurt the dog is really messing with my strategy. Oh no, chase them down, please. Yeah, looks like it's over. Gonna have to build a few more of these though. But you are going to want to eventually heal yourself. Yeah, so that wasn't ideal. But lessons learned. Second left toe is shot off. Any other permanent? I think Linda's right kidney was destroyed when we shot it. All right, that I like to see. I think I'm going to wait for this bedroom to be built before I... Actually, you know what? Screw it. This will probably change once I get more substantial sort of research infrastructure, but... Oh, wait, no, hang on. We're not going to do that because we're going to move all this over. All right, and Jackalope's back. I think I'm just going to open up all drugs at this point. So I think probably I do need to think about better recreation options soon. But I'm reasonably happy with the shape of things. Lost his tail. But yeah, so this will, this is actually going to start affecting some of my research choices fairly soon. So at some point I'm going to want to be able to turn these steel slag chunks into resources that I can work with. So obviously I want to finish off all of the construction that I've got here. Ideally we'll have, we'll have something, let's harvest that. Ideally we'll have sort of all of the, sorry, I don't just want it to be so that we have all of the different like factories set up and things like that, but ideally what's going to be happening here is that people will have sort of some level of specialization that they are not spending a whole lot of time running between rooms for. So like this is full of granite and marble right now, and the hope will be that somebody's just constantly making chunks. Now that's not really happening right now, but I kind of want to see how this works once we why on earth? Debating between machining or... eh. So maybe I just say this is preferred. Because what it looks like here is that they're going all across the map to get resources that it's so weird. Oh, because it's slate. What a shame. All right, we're ready to move the laboratory. Walls aren't quite up yet, but... So the slate that I'm making here is largely just to try and get through the stockpile a little bit. Maybe I'll make, I don't know, slate pathways or something like that, but... Oh, crap. I always get caught by that. Alright, now I want to be slightly thoughtful. Let's just do, you know what? Something like that. And then once that's built, I'll get rid of the power lines. But obviously I don't want to do that until the full setup's done. And let's just get rid of all of these. Probably should have done that quite a bit sooner. We'll clear all that out later, but right now I want to stop all these collapses. Especially because, you know, it is sort of a permadeath mode, so if I wind up killing one of my characters for completely trivial reasons, that's going to feel really bad. All right, that's encouraging. Yes, this is how I want it. One, two, three, four, five, six. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we'll do one more home. This one shouldn't actually find any use. So obviously we'll cancel dismantling here. And then one of the reasons I wanted to sort of sneak through this particular one is it seems to me like this will be a decent way to build another line to the power. And then while I'm working on redundancy, there's another one. All right, I think that works for me. So I suppose the next question now is, what do I want to do with all of this? So we've got our various workshops going. We're working on some research. I think one thing that might be worthwhile now is to say, are there any resources that I can take advantage of? And right now, we've got a bunch of jade that we can mine without any real penalty. We're doing okay for steel. I'm sure we could get more, but that's not critical. And we're doing okay for components. The thing is, right now, I don't really have any need to... there's not much for me to do with them. It's just they're... You know, they're there. If I was maybe building more plate armor or something like that, I'd maybe consider it, but... I think probably what I want to do... Let's just take a quick look at some of the different orders that I can give. So... Oh, I can actually build an electric smelter already. I think it would be a rather decent idea to get one of those down, actually. In fact, I'm wondering if I can do more than one here. So we've got the smelter. I've got the smithy. It's a little crowded, but... Yeah, I don't know if I love the layout, but... So the reason I'm doing this is one of the longer term priorities is going to, in fact, we can probably just do this now. I want to dismantle the ship chunks. Essentially start clearing out whatever I can on the map. This one's a little awkward. Oh dear. Relationship. There are people who have relationships with your colonists or prisoners in the arriving group. Warrior Koro, uncle of colonist Sonia. They're just passing by, so there's not a whole lot for me to do with them. So I think at this point with the electric smelter, we can say smelt metal from slag. We can do that forever. I notice there's a do 4 times for the sculptures. We don't actually seem to have 4 of them. So I'll go for 6. Finish research plate armor. Smith suits of plate armor from metal or wood. This heavy armor noticeably slows movement, but protects very efficiently. So in general, I'd prefer not to have this kind of armor and such, but... Oh! Linda started a social fight with Butler, and chunks of spacecraft have fallen nearby. So similar story as before. We'll try and clear as much of the map as I can with that. So both are bleeding, but not on the brink of death. I think I'm also at a point now where I'm going to start dismantling any of the normal chairs. Yeah, so we'll be a bit short on chairs for a bit. Eventually I'll do this with the beds as well. We also have 6 I believe I actually have a way of forcing my colonists to wear certain outfits, but we're not quite at that level of control yet. You know what? Circle of life sort of thing. I think what I'm going to do here too, now that we've got something of a regular source of meat, So we'll do this until we have 12. I'll do the same for the simple meal, but in this case it's so see, obviously if I have some kind of starvation or something like that, I'm going to have to reconsider it, but okay, so this was a nice little bit of recreation as far as building things, but I think at this point we probably want to go... I mean, there's a few that I can go for. Sterile materials might be interesting, as would geothermal power, but I think machining is the next logical step. It's a little too cramped in the existing room here. Actually, we're very low on power. Oh, here's another thing I want to do. So if we do the details for the simple meals, we won't use meat for those. Fine meals, I believe I have to. Yeah, it has to have some kind of protein. But at least at this point, when I'm making the fine meals, I won't be wasting the meat on the simple stuff. Oh, one thing I was meaning to do. We want to make those solar generators, but I never actually followed through on it, so... Very short on components, so I think we'll have to hit the next one here. I believe there is a way I can generate components. However, I believe that requires machinery, and I may actually need advanced components in order to be able to do that in the first place. I don't remember offhand, but it's one I'll probably want to keep an eye on. So again, the usual routine, we'll finish building this, we'll finish building the other bedroom. I think we might be able to get away with one more inside here, but I'm not in a rush to make that one. Oh. I'm too short on chairs. Right. Okay. And then all this stuff. Link. Clear it all. This one's a little bit of a weird one. Okay, not so good. I will look at that in a moment. So that's the sort of thing I want to see a little more often. We do seem to be doing a good job of cleaning up all the spaceship chunks. A lot of slate. Actually, here's what I'll do with that. Pave tile takes... This is almost entirely arbitrary, by the way. I'm trying to think of a way of not stepping on some of these good growing areas. All right. Will have to do. Manhunter Pack. A pack of man-hunting lynx have entered the area. Driven insane by the disease known as Scaria, they will roam the region, hunting for humanoid flesh. They won't attack unless they see someone go through a door. Hide inside and you'll be safe. They also won't attack powered-off turrets. so turn off your turrets to save them. The lynx will leave the area in 1 or 2 days. You can hide and wait them out or fight them. All right, there's 3 of them. I mean, if they're lynx, they shouldn't be trifled with. But I still feel the appropriate move here is to prepare. So, what do I do here? It's the best I've got. Okay, so clearly I need to bait at least one of them. Oh, this is no good. This is going to be kind of hair-raising just because this thing's camping my my hospital. Thank heavens. All right. Okay, just let Linda rest. All right, there we go. So obviously that was not great. But, I mean, what am I going to do, right? Oop, sheep join. A group of sheep, abandoned or lost, have wandered into the area. They seem accustomed to human contact. So because it's not enclosed, we don't know if they're going to be starving or not. Okay, so we know we're not going to lose Linda, which is good. I think at this point we're waiting on the construction of the last bedroom. Well, last for now. The rest of it, 15 t-shirts in 6 days. Half of which is the travel time, though. I'm at a point now where I'm willing to start making some new beds. So at some point, basically, once we exhaust the food, what I'm eventually going to do here is sort of limit the population. And then that'll give us a slightly more consistent source of meat. All right, now I need to actually start making some slightly more serious choices. I think I'll do gunsmithing first. Now, apparently, I seem to have missed a memo in terms of the power. That feels a little foolish. Probably overdoing it on power at this point here, but again, I'm just gonna let it. I'm gonna let it do its thing. Okay, we're actually starting to get a little full up here. So let's say for our animals, manage auto slaughter. So we'll say max 2 adults. 4 female adults, infinite young. Same here. Yeah, I'll work with that for now. We might eventually start replacing sort of like dressers and tables too, but take it one step at a time. Cool. So I think that's it for buildings. What this will give me an opportunity to do is we're not going to be drawing down on the tiles for a while. So I'm hoping this will let us get to the granite limit, and then you know, we can start working on the marble and the slate. Okay. So what are... Oh, hang on. I think we can go without the stool. I'm noticing, for some reason, we still haven't put down the tiles in all the places. So that's a pretty straightforward one for me to... Okay. Looks like it was just that one case. Gunsmithing. Craft simple, manually operated guns like revolvers, pump shotguns, bolt-action rifles, and incendiary launchers. So I think blowback operation is next. So again, this is kind of what I was hoping for. Admittedly, these are sort of the lower cost or lower impact research projects, but presumably with the specialization that we've got going now, we're spending a little bit less time going to and from certain locations and more just like working through the tasks that we need. Looks like I need to build another bed. So good, excellent, good, excellent, good, excellent. So at this point I'll say my goal is minimum normal, but I think we're eventually going to want to start raising these to good or excellent. Now, clothing. I'm pretty sure there's a way to... Oh, here we go. Apparel policies. You know what? Eventually I will... I think I'll come up with a uniform clothing policy, but let's wait until all the dusters and that are made. And again, I'm happy to see all of sort of the voluntary cleaning. So one thing that I'm not super stoked about is that the stonecutter's table is currently sort of sitting idle. Right, because Butler's running off to get more bits. I think just so I don't go insane, I'm going to put down another dumping ground outside the edge here. I'm hoping this will be a temporary one. It's going to be specifically for granite. Interesting. So we seem to be having the granite problem that we're having because there is no more on the map. I imagine that won't be a... Oh, here we go. I imagine this won't be impossible to overcome. So one of the things I sometimes like to do is... So we've got these sort of roofs. Okay, that's slate. Uranium. Okay, good to know. Alright, there's some of the granite. So what I normally like to do is when there's not a roof, I'll just sort of nibble away at the edges. And then once there's a... once I'm sort of into the actual mountain, that'll be where I sort of try and do a more formal mining operation. In this case here, I don't quite feel the need to do that. I was thinking maybe that would be the case for the granite, but it turns out that there is some just at the far end of the map. So again, the aim here is going to be we'll try to fill our bills. That will allow me to... I've kind of been prioritizing granite lately, but there's no rule saying that everything has to be granite. Once I've sort of cleared out the... once I've cleared out or gotten a little more diversity in terms of the types of blocks that I'm working with, I might rearrange the tickets or whatever. But anyways, that'll be where I start being a little more thoughtful in terms of how I start carving up some of these areas. But honestly, right now, are we just out of... Okay, we are low on steel. Feel a little better if I took this one rather than up here, just because it warned me about the evil in the limestone wall, but alright, this is looking good. Uh-oh. No, it's probably going to go after Collins now. Maybe not. I'm so glad I bought Butler some time there. All right, there we go. I'm hoping that the cougar meat will contribute to a bit of... That's not where I want it. Oh, it looks like we hit our granite quota. So this means we'll eventually be making some marble art. And looks like the steel's been exhausted. So I mean, at some point I'm gonna have to do microelectronics. Gas operation first, I think. And a mad bison. All right, you know what? It is 3 in the morning. I've done a 3-hour stream. The only thing I'm not crazy about with RimWorld is I don't know if I have a whole lot. Obviously, if there's a chat going on inside of the stream chat, there's a bit for me to talk about. But in this case here, like, I'm not really sure I have a whole lot to say that's not obvious from playing the game. But I do enjoy it. I'll try and figure out a better way to do RimWorld. But I think I'm going to call it here. So thank you very much for watching. I don't know if there's anybody online for me to host tonight, but let's take a quick look. We've got Revived Snow. So I hope you all have a good night. Please treat Revived Snow well, and I will be back on Monday. Still trying to figure out what I'd like to do with my streaming time, but I don't know. The weekend will give me some time to think about it. Anyways, have a good night. See you in the next one.